This morning, Bristol Public Schools preparing to add another layer of security. The Board of Education voted to change district policy to allow armed security guards in schools. Your reporter Taylor Knight live in Bristol to explain what families need to know. Taylor, good morning.
Good morning. Well, you don't see any changes at schools just yet, but last night the Bristol Board of Education voted unanimously yes to allowing those armed guards in schools. Its current director of security, who's a former state trooper, will be the first armed guard. Right now, Bristol has school resource officers who are armed, but those positions fall under the Bristol Police Department. That won't go away. Instead, Bristol Police Chief Mark Morello says that his officers will work with the armed guards to improve school safety. And this will be the first time that elementary schools will have armed security. Before the vote, parents voiced their thoughts to the Board of Ed.
There's this weird standard where we don't value our kids the same way, and I want to afford them the same protections as politicians and money in the bank.
Before we see those armed guards in school, proper training will need to take place and the district will need to have liability insurance. Your reporter live in Bristol, Taylor Knight, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.